from the sunny day. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny from the stormy sea, from the brightest day, from the darkest night, from the sunny day.
Okie dokie, Smokey. Let me turn this up so I can hear it. David, I will work on the audio before I start the end of the stream. The thing is, once I boost it inside the mixer for OBS, if I try to turn it down off the slider, it takes away all the gain. It just goes back to 0. So I'll boost it about 2.5 dB instead of 5, and hopefully that'll be okay. Yes, you guys can absolutely lullaby. Viv can Vettel Viv. Okay, that's an interesting choice of keyboarding. Okay, so why are we here? As I stated in the preview, we're here because of this series of letters and information regarding the investigation into Hillary Clinton's illegal email server. It seems that the Senate Finance Committee had done some questioning of people involved, and they got a couple of tidbits that they thought would be very interested. I'm sorry, that the that the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committees would be interested in hearing. Morning, John. Absolutely good morning to you. There's a Mark here? I miss Mark. unless one of you goes by one name and is another, in which case I don't need to know. Not my thing. And Ray did not expect you here this morning. It's wonderful to have you here. And Ray, thank you very much for what you did a week or so ago. I just now saw my statement, and it was very kind of you. Very kind of you, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you. I'm going to have to mail you something to show my appreciation. A little card or something, not like a car. Well, although, who knows? You get a car. You get a car. Real quickly, my vacation. A lot of fun. I met some very, very great people while we were at the event, which was the Great Rocky Mountain, or I'm sorry, not great, just the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival, held each year in Broomfield, Colorado, at the Omni Hotel and Resort. It was spectacularly well run, well attended, greatly attended. It was their 10th anniversary, it turns out. I didn't know that till I showed up. And a lot of people. I'd say well over 1,000 to maybe 1,200 people that I saw were there. That doesn't count people who were hanging out in VIP areas and things like that. That could have been another 500 easy. And the event was completely sold out. There was not one ticket available when you walked up to register, not one. So glad I got mine early. I found a new cigar made by Oscar Vallades. And they have one called the 2012, which I fell in love with. Bought a box of 10. And I'll be getting a new piece of clothing. I don't know how long the owner of the place was at the event, and she lives in Florida. But I will be getting a new piece of clothing that will look great. Can't wait for you guys to see it. And Skullcram, good morning to you, sir. Welcome, and welcome. It seems like we've got pretty much all the Mad Hatters here. And let us get it. And this is the first page of this entire trove here. It is on United States Senate stationery. It says, to Senator Grassley, Chairman Finance Committee, Senior Member Judiciary Committee. Senator Johnson, Ron Johnson's one of my senators, Chairman Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. From the majority staff Finance Committee and the majority staff Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. So obviously I read that backwards. I apologize. The date of this letter was August 14th of this year, 2019, and it is concerning the investigation of the DOJ's and FBI's handling of the Clinton investigation. Dear Chairman Grassley and Chairman Johnson. Thank you, David. Troll for more. The more the merrier, especially if they're anything like you guys. That would be terrific. To continue. We write to provide you with information that we developed as part of your investigation into the mishandling of highly classified information and operation of non-government server for official business by Secretary Clinton and her associates. Statements made in a joint bipartisan staff interview by intelligence community officials involved in the classification review raised particular concerns that senior State Department officials sought to downgrade classified material found on the server. Your investigation began in March 2015 with an initial focus on whether State Department officials were aware of Secretary Clinton's private server and the associated national security risks, as well as whether State Department officials attempted to downgrade classified material within emails found on that server. For example, in August 2015, Senator Grassley wrote to the State Department about reports that State Department FOIA specialists believe some of Secretary Clinton's emails should be subject to the B1, quote, classified information, unquote, exemption, whereas attorneys within the Office of Legal Advisor prefer to use the B5, quote, deliberative process, unquote, exemption. Whistleblower career employees within the State Department also reportedly notified the intelligence community that others at state involved in the review process deliberately changed classification determinations to protect Secretary Clinton. Dun, da, da, da. Now, again, I shouldn't say again, but still, this came out the week of the Epstein blow up. So no one heard of it. And I've seen a couple pieces, describing the event of this coming out, but one with some in-depth coverage. But it's actually been pretty sparse. There were a lot of things about Grassley and they're sending out FOIA requests for, or asking the FBI and the DOJ for more information about certain texts and emails, and they were being turned down. But now we know why. Let's read this footnote right here at the regarding that last sentence there. John Solomon, safe given to lawyer among irregularities seen a review of Hillary Clinton emails, Washington Times, August 16. And also Laura Meckler, Hillary Clinton's State Department staff keep tight rein on records, reporting on political appointees interfering with FOIA production in an effort to protect Secretary Clinton. No surprise there. To continue, your inquiry later extended to how the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation managed their investigation of the mishandling of classified information. A current focus of the investigation is the highly classified appendix to the DOJ Inspector General's report on these matters, which DOJ provided to Congress on July 11, 2018. That appendix raised a number of serious questions because, as explained on page 154 of the unclassified DOJ IG report, the FBI decided not to seek access to certain highly classified information potentially relevant to the investigation, despite members of the FBI case team referring to the review as a, quote, necessary part of the, quote, investigation. As a necessary part of the investigation, close quote. As a result of the findings in that appendix, man, I'm out of practice. Senator Grassley wrote a classified letter to the DOJ on October 17, 2018, which remains unanswered. On January 15, 2019, at Mr. Barr's nomination hearing, Senator Grassley asked Mr. Barr if he would answer the letter if confirmed, to which he attested, "Yes, Senator." On April 16, 2019, Senators Grassley, Johnson, and Graham sent a letter to Attorney General Barr reiterating the need for a written response to that letter. In August 2018, news articles alleged that a Chinese state-owned company hacked former Secretary Clinton's non-government server and inserted code that forwarded nearly all of her emails to the foreign company. The reporting indicated that two Intelligence Community Inspector General officials, Frank Rucker and Jeanette McMillan, discovered the code and brought the possible intrusion to the attention of the FBI. As we remember, I'm pretty sure that this is the case, that Peter Strzok was notified of it, and there's nothing to see here kind of thing. And we've heard recently that it looked like the whole process behind getting Trump in trouble, once the FBI thought that there was a mole or a Russian spy inside the Trump campaign, or influencing the campaign, they decided to let it go, not to say anything to anybody. It's just to start an investigation, because as the person put it, and this guy who's the former CEO of Overstock, he said that they just wanted it to fester so they could, use it as a tool against Trump if things didn't go their way. We pursued this issue, back to the text. We pursued this issue by requesting interviews with the two ICIG officials. On December 4, 2018, your staff, along with staff from Senators Feinstein and McCaskill, interviewed ICIG employees Mr. Rucker and Ms. McMillan. On December 20, 2018, you transmitted a copy of an interview summary of the majority's questions and the witnesses' answers to the ICIG for a classification review. On January 30, 2019, the ICIG provided classified and unclassified versions of the interview summary, and the Office of Senate Security redacted the classified information. On February 28, 2019, the ICIG provided documentary evidence, including copies of emails and notes from meetings. On April 9, 2019, the DOJ, IG, and ICIG provided a summary of their findings related to these Chinese hacking allegations. We would like to bring to your attention two pieces of information that we learned during those interviews. First, according to one ICIG official, some members of the FBI investigative team seemed indifferent to evidence of a possible intrusion by a foreign adversary into Secretary Clinton's non-government server. The interview summary makes clear exactly what information Mr. Rucker and Ms. McMillan knew regarding the alleged hack of the Clinton server, as well as the information they shared with the FBI team, including Peter Strzok, the Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, in charge of the Clinton investigation. So here you go there. They're letting the the Chinese interference into Clinton's email slide, because they know that if they use it at all as evidence or in their reports, it will throw the entire investigation for a loop, and there would be no way they could not charge her with mishandling of information, since it wound up in the hands of a hostile, in fact, the most hostile power we are dealing with right now. And no, Mr. Obama, I'm not looking to the 90s for my foreign policy. Thank you. It's deliberately difficult to understand why the FBI would completely put blinders on when it comes to such an egregious breach of security protocol, unless they were in the bag for Hillary all along, like we've been saying, and didn't want to run the investigation too competently for fear of actually having to charge the woman. And they still should have charged her, and they didn't. Unfortunately, the IG report, the Inspector General cannot countermand charging agreements, and he had to just let it go. Although you could tell by the end that he was pretty upset by it. Okay, let's look at these. Let's look at these footnotes here. The one comes off to the first one refers to this part up here at the top, referring to the review as a necessary part of the investigation. Members of the case team wanted to look at those documents. And footnote 2 is titled "A Review of Various Actions by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Justice in advance of the 2016 election." Unclassified Inspector General Report, page 154, quote, "In addition, as we describe in the classified appendix to this report, the OIG learned near the end of our review that the FBI had considered obtaining permission from the department to review certain classified materials that may have included information potentially relevant to the mid-year investigation. Although the mid-year team drafted a memorandum to the Deputy Attorney General in late 2016, stating that review of the highly classified materials was necessary to complete the investigation and requesting permission to access them, the FBI never sent this request to the department. FBI witnesses told us that they did not seek access to these classified materials for various reasons, including that they believed this information would not materially impact the conclusion. The classified appendix describes in more detail the highly classified information, its potential relevance to the mid-year investigation, the FBI's reasons for not seeking access to it, and our analysis." To continue. Second, the interview summary provides additional information about the internal process the State Department undertook to determine if the classification of emails from Secretary Clinton and her associates. Ms. McMillan explained that, quote, at first, state fought back against the intelligence community being involved, unquote, but eventually agreed. She also explained that during the course of their review, the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, did any of you know that we had a National Geospatial Intelligence Agency? Because I didn't. I'd never heard of it before, not even once. The NGIA, never heard of it. Gig and Magog, welcome to you both. Welcome to you both. It's very nice of the others to drag you in here. I hope this will be at least keeping you from falling asleep long enough to where you might consider coming to the panel whenever you care to. Oh, Gog. Sorry. Gog. Gog and Magog. Gotcha. Had significant equities in the Clinton emails. Also, during the interview, Mr. Rucker stated that he was told that two State Department employees, Austin Evers and Catherine Duvall, took steps to downgrade classified emails by arguing that they should be withheld from disclosure for deliberative process reasons rather than classification reasons under the Freedom of Information Act. Mr. Rucker also observed then Ambassador Patrick Kennedy questioning whether certain emails should be provided to the intelligence community for review and fighting against classifying other emails. Gee, can't imagine how that happened. Yeah, it just goes to show that there is such a thing as a deep state. Oh, okay, David. I will withdraw the Mad Hatter's designation then, and I will leave it up to y'all to come up with one you feel is more appropriate to the crew. And keeping in mind people like Uncle Bobbity, who are not here right now, who is also as puckish as you people, so perhaps you can dig something out. But yeah, and like you, oh, you like Mad Hatters? Oh, okay. All right, I thought you were worried that we would cross-pollinate and get in a little confusion there. Okay, good. Mad Hatters it is. I did not come up with that. I believe it might have been Ray or Uncle Bobbity, and if I'm wrong, please please correct me. But I do appreciate the designation. I like it quite a bit. So yeah, even now, Ambassador Patrick Kennedy, I gotta look this guy up because I don't know who he is as ambassador to. There we go, Ambassador Patrick Kennedy. Oh, UN. Oh, UN. Oh, where else what other time has the UN come to play in any of this falderall? Who was that ambassador who provided something like 100 different unmaskings near the last 2 months of the Obama administration? Could that have happened? Let's continue. This information should serve as an addition to your investigative record. Accordingly, we have attached an unclassified copy of the majority's questioning and the corresponding witness answers to this memorandum. We also have included an October 25, 2018 document production from the ICIG, a February 26, 2019 documentation production from the ICIG, and an April 9, 2019 letter from the IC and DOJ-IG summarizing their findings related to the alleged hack into Secretary Clinton's non-government server. This ought to be good. Okay. So now we have a document sent via classified courier to the Honorable Michael K. Atkinson, Inspector General, Office of the IG for the Intelligence Community. Please excuse me. On December 4, 2018, the majority and minority staff on the Senate Committee on the Judiciary and the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs interviewed two former Intelligence Community Inspector General employees, Jeanette McMillan and Frank later than January 15, 2019. Should you have questions? Yada, 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 yada. That was signed by Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley. Carbon CC'd to Clara McCaskill and Dianne Feinstein. Boy. Okay, so here's a transcript of the ICIG interviews from Tuesday, December 4th, 2018. We've got a couple who are redacted here. Let's look at the participants. Jeanette McMillan, redacted. Melissa Wright, Michael Atkinson, Frank Rucker. Congressional staff: John Flynn Brown, Senate Judiciary Committee, Grassley. David Brewer, House Senate, Senate GAC. It was the Homeland Security. Anyway, governmental. No, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. David Brewer with HSGAC under Ron Johnson. Andy Romack, Senate Judiciary Committee under Grassley. Heather Sawyer, Senate Judiciary Committee under Feinstein. Annie Owens, same. And Julie Klein under Senator McCaskill. Now, the format of this is a little weird. I'm going to try to get through it as best I can without being confusing. But what they do is they state who is asking the question first. So we'll start off with Jeanette McMillan with majority questioning. Then it'll give you, again, the side of the aisle that is asking the question. So here, majority. Then it will give you the quote of the question. And then it will give you a paraphrase of the answer by the person. No, see, that's not right. I still got it right. Jeanette McMillan is the person being interviewed. So they give that name. Then they give the question by whoever that is on the majority. They don't give the name of the person asking the question. And then they paraphrase the answer. Now we got it. Okay. I'll read the names as often as I can to keep it from getting confusing. Okay, Jeanette McMillan, majority questioning. When did you begin working with ICIG and when did you leave? And this was asked of Jeanette McMillan. McMillan answers. Ms. McMillan said she started working at ICIG when it was created in 2011, and she had been with its predecessor, ODNIG, in 2010. Previously, she worked at the CIA Office of General Counsel. She left the ICIG in June 2018 to work at another counterintelligence-related entity. What was the role of the ICIG during the Clinton email investigation? McMillan. Ms. McMillan said that ICIG worked in a supporting role to State OIG. She said that State IG Steve Linick received a letter from Senators Johnson, Corker, and Burr in March 2015 regarding the investigation to examine email usage among recent former Secretaries of State, and in response, IG Linick was told he could receive assistance from the ICIG, which would help in identifying classified material. Question by the majority. Can you describe the context you and ICIG had with the FBI in early 2016 regarding the anomaly found in Secretary Clinton's emails? McMillan said that the original 811C referral was made by ICIG to the FBI in July 2015. When the anomaly was later discovered, she said it was appended to the existing referral. She does not remember whether a document was created which memorializes this. Ms. McMillan said that she worked with departments and agencies within the IC who identified classified information at the time it was sent in the emails. She said that the ICIG needed to protect additional equities, which started around August 2015. She said that identified classified information attempted to figure out where it all went and who received it, and how it was handled so as to make sure there would be no issues going forward. She said that it was during the review that ICIG Inspector Frank Rucker found an anomaly in the particular email data. At the time of the discovery, she said they didn't know whether FBI had seen this already or not. Majority. Was it a two-pronged process? Ms. McMillan said that it was different. She said that after they identified it, it was not a, quote, one and done, unquote. She said that in the second part of the review, Mr. Rucker looked through the metadata to find out where the look through the metadata to find out where classified information was sent. It was a static forensic analysis. He worked with a copy of the emails. She said that she had no technical experience on the metadata side, so Mr. Rucker would be able to explain better. Ms. McDillon said that the anomaly was not found or specifically looked for during the original review. She said they got into it once they learned that classified information existed on Secretary Clinton's emails. I like that. That's very heads up. They were not told this is there, find it and do something with it. They thought to themselves, hey, we're dealing with classified emails here. We need to make sure that no foreign power got a hold of them through nefarious means. And they started digging and they found something. Now that shows you true investigative potential or investigative quality. As opposed to the FBI and DOJ burying their head in the sand the entire time. Majority question. What was the significance of the anomaly? Ms. McMillan said it was found by Mr. Rucker in the batch of 30,000 emails. She said that what ICIG received is basically a copy of the email. She said there was no concern over the carterheavyindustries@gmail.com email address that was observed in the metadata. It appeared that this email was essentially a live, quote, Dropbox for all of Secretary Clinton sent and received emails. Well, that can't be good. I wonder if carterheavyindustries@gmail.com is still even extant. Probably not. I'm sure the Chinese folded it up as soon as the IG got on to Hillary. Majority question. Can you describe the meeting you and Mr. Rucker had with the FBI? Ms. McMillan said that the meeting with Peter Strzok was wide-ranging in topics because he just took over his new assignment as section chief. She said that she and Mr. Rucker brought this Clinton email to his attention but could not explain whether it had significance. She said that they only drew attention to its existence, which they could not explain or account for. She said that it seemed like a strange thing to have on her email the Carter Heavy Industries email address. I'm way out of practice. I'm still exhausted. Gotten about 16 hours sleep in the last 4 days. I'm covering it. And to continue Ms. McMillan's answer, she said that she doesn't recall trying to identify the source owner of Carter Heavy Industries' email address. She said they provided the information to Mr. Strzok, who found it strange. Even before their meeting with Mr. Strzok, Dean Chappell of the FBI informed them that he was aware of the Carter Heavy Industries email address. She said that she doesn't know whether Mr. Chappell knew before they dropped off the original packet in 2016 or if he learned of it afterwards. News of this email address being found in Secretary Clinton's emails wasn't shocking to them, she said, but they took it seriously. She said that the FBI seemed impressed with their ability to find it, along with Mr. Rucker's technical abilities. Sometime after the meeting with Mr. Strzok, she said that ICIG provided detailed spreadsheets of Clinton's emails and that the spreadsheets were likely classified at the top secret level with compartments. She said that she doesn't know what current classified level is for the respective emails. To continue, Ms. McMillan estimated that the meeting lasted approximately 45 minutes. She said that there were maybe 6 or 7 people, including her and Mr. Rucker, who did most of the talking for ICIG. Mr. Rucker and the FBI talked in technical terms regarding the anomaly. Did the FBI express any reaction to the ICIG finding the anomaly? Ms. McMillan said no, and that the FBI employees in attendance were, quote, poker-faced. She said that they wanted to figure out how ICIG found it. She said that they let the FBI know that the ICIG was not trying to do the FBI's job, and they only found it by means of protecting ICIG assets and sources. Yeah, that's, well, actually, she can't say, David, in regards to McMillan didn't bother to search for the domain owner, I think what it is that she didn't remember doing it. She didn't, yeah, here it is. She doesn't recall trying to identify the source or owner. So that's as close to she didn't as you're going to get without saying so. But yeah, it's let's see. Who is Carter? Heavy. Yeah, it's just okay. If y'all want to do more digging into that, feel free. If I had found something right off the bat, I would have dug into it further, but I didn't see anything right there. I was hoping for a detail on that. Other than the FBI, did you notify anyone else of the anomaly on Secretary Clinton's emails? Ms. McMillan said that they notified ODNI, NCTC, and security officials within the agencies that own the information. She said that the agencies had that had equities, including CIA and NGA. She said that it is up to the individual agencies that own the information to conduct their due diligence as far as any damage assessment is concerned. Do you recall who was at the February 2016 meeting with the FBI? Ms. McMillan said that it was her, Mr. Rucker, Mr. Strzok, Mr. Chappell, and a few other men in, quote, white shirts and dark suits, unquote, from the FBI. She said that she cannot remember their names. I want to provide you with a few names to see if they sound familiar and whether they might also have attended the meeting. Excuse me. Was John Moffat there? Ms. McMillan said that the name sounds familiar and that she remembers that a John John/Jon was there, but she doesn't know for certain whether he was. Was Tricia Anderson there? Ms. McMillan said that her name rings a bell, and I can remember her name being mentioned in relation to this matter, but I cannot say for certain whether she attended the meeting. Was David Loffman there? I don't think so. Was George Toscas there? I don't think so. Was Matt Axelrod there? That name sounds familiar, but I don't know. Majority question, where did the hot emails go? McMillan said that it was their understanding that they went to this, quote, Dropbox Live as the emails were being sent and received. She believes that they went to this email address just like they would go to the intended email recipients. She said, quote, even if you didn't address an email to this address, the email went to it anyway, close quote. She said they explained this to the FBI. Ms. McMillan said that they kept ODNI and the individual agencies in the loop as to what they found and what they were doing. She said it was up to each individual agency to conduct their own damage control. She said that she doesn't know if this outreach took place before or after the meeting with FBI, but it was the same time frame, within the same time frame. Ms. McMillan said that the ICIG didn't see its role to conduct their own investigation, but to rather pass the information to the FBI and move on and let them handle it. I can see the reasoning behind that. Like they said, each department has its own IG, and its own investigative arm, and it was an FBI thing, but that kind of compartmentalization, I thought, was what the Patriot Act was all about, getting agencies to move information more quickly and more efficiently between each other to stop this kind of a bottleneck. Obviously, it was a big mistake on behalf of the IG to not allow their people to continue researching Carter Heavy Industries' email address to see exactly who that was and where they were actually going. I agree with you, David, completely. Bumbling, fumbling, mumbling, government, awful. Ooh, awful. Good word, awful. I haven't seen that in a long time. OFFAL for those of you listening at home. Ms. McMillan, conduct her own meeting. Yeah, Ms. McMillan said that the ICIG didn't see it as its role to conduct their own investigation. Let them I already read that. FBI move on, handle it. They said that they made the referral to the FBI and let them investigate it, and that she doesn't know that ICIG even had jurisdiction to investigate it. Fair point. She said that ICIG shared the information with state, IG to IG. She said she doesn't know what state did, if anything, but state was happy ICIG made the referral to the FBI. Well, of course they were happy, because that meant you guys weren't going to pursue it and let them off the hook. They could bury it in a good old foggy bottom. I'm sorry, that's the State Department. I don't know what the far reaches of the bottom of the Department of Justice are, but I'm sure they have one just as well. Just doesn't have as cute a name. The 811C referral is an official government request. So should the ICIG receive a formal conclusion in return from the FBI? McMillan said, no, Mr. McCullough was a former FBI special agent, and he didn't feel we should participate in anything once we made notification to the FBI. She said it was a one-way street of information flow to the FBI. And again, I thought there were no more of those after the Patriot Act was passed. We're all really old, David. We're all really old. Question. Is it possible that hackers could have gotten into Secretary Clinton's emails through the Carter Heavy Industries email account? Ms. McMillan said that she doesn't think the intelligence community had jurisdiction to look into whether hostile actors accessed or compromised Secretary Clinton's email account, and she felt that they did not have jurisdiction at ICIG. Did you ask the FBI to find out whether hostile actors had accessed Secretary Clinton's emails and to let you know the outcome of their findings? Ms. McMillan said no, and that their meeting with the FBI wasn't an ask, it was just a referral. She said the first time she heard any follow-up on this matter was by listening to then FBI Director Comey's congressional testimony that summer, when he said the FBI found no evidence of hostile intrusion. To this day, she said that the ICIG has no definitive answer on what Carter Heavy Industries is or who runs it. Yeah, and we know why. Skullcrime says, but what is illegal if the command came from much higher up? No, it certainly wasn't illegal for the IG people to stop investigating. It would have been the smart thing to do, in my opinion, but it wouldn't have been illegal. And again, my opinion. But with the FBI refusing, in this instance, it looks like, refusing to do due diligence on their part and pursue this lead fully, that is illegal. That's obstruction of justice. Question: which agencies had equities in regards to the classified emails sent by Secretary Clinton on her private server? Ms. McMillan said that NGA and CIA had significant equities and provided ICIG with declarations as such. She said that NSA conducted a review, but they didn't have signal intelligence equities. Did the ICIG make any classification determinations regarding the emails Secretary Clinton sent and received on her private server? Ms. McMillan said that the ICIG does not have classification authority. She said that their declaration asked for the classification level at the time a given email was sent, and for the current classification level, considering it had been over 3 years since they were sent. Was the only documentation passed to the FBI in early 2016 the original packet of sensitive information delivered by Mr. Rucker? I think so. What did the packet of sensitive information... Sorry, I'm trying to read too far ahead. What did the packet of sensitive material consist of? Ms. McMillan said that she believes it contained copies of the classified emails they identified as part of their first review. She said that they later made a very large and detailed spreadsheet of the classified emails and where they went. She said this was separate from the original packet delivered by Mr. Rucker. She said that the records containing the spreadsheets were delivered sometime after the face-to-face meeting with the FBI. So, all those emails that the FBI couldn't found. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Majority. I assume you are familiar with the DOJ IG report on the Clinton email investigation. Ms. McClellan said that she saw it, but she was not interviewed as part of the report. She said that to her knowledge they were aware of all aspects of our referral. She acknowledged that DOJ IG did interview her after Representative Gohmert had the exchange with Mr. Strzok during the joint House hearing in July 2018 about the alleged China hack. She said that she told them the same thing she discussed during today's interview. She said that she didn't tell them anything additional that she didn't tell the committee today. Was the DOJ OIG interview tethered to their ongoing FISA investigation? I don't think so. It was a congressional ask triggered by the congressional hearing, followed by media reports. Did you see evidence of intentional classification, downgrading of emails at State? I don't know if that was the case. If anything, there are problems at State with upgrading of all the information. The State Department uses this process a lot. Ms. McMillan then said that her original ask to IG Linux was to hire or get assistance from people who can identify intelligence community equities. She said that at first, State fought back against the intelligence community for being involved, but they needed the expertise and people skilled to do it in order to meet court demands. She said that after contacting ODNI, State eventually did agree to bring in experts to assist with the review process, and ODNI agreed to provide personnel to assist. She said that they look at a small sampling, 296 emails going forward. Okay, why 296? Is that a date range? Were you interviewed by the FBI, and when? Ms. McMillan said yes, that the FBI took 302s or reports from both her and Mr. McCullough around this time of their original referral in July 2015. She said that the FBI interviewed her and McCullough 1 week and then interviewed Mr. Rucker the following week. She said that these 302s have been released in redacted form on the FBI's website. What were the contacts you had with the FBI in early 2016? Ms. McMillan said that at first... My eyes are blinking. Ms. McMillan said that first they gave a packet of information to the FBI which contained all classified emails identified to date or during the first review. Then, she said, they had the in-person meeting. She said that lastly, they produced a high-side communication regarding passing along spreadsheets which documented all classified emails identified to date and who they came from, where they went, the names of all recipients. Did ICIG Michael Atkinson arrive around 4:15? Sorry, that's not a question. Note, ICIG Michael Atkinson arrived around 1:45 p.m. Question from the majority. Is it your understanding that Secretary Clinton's private-to-private emails contained the Carter Heavy Industries anomaly? Yes. And that's the end of the interview with Ms. McMillan. Next up is Frank Rucker. Sorry. Majority. Can you provide us with a brief career overview and tell us how you came to work at the ICIG and whether you are still employed there? Mr. Rucker said that he began his job as an inspector with ICIG in February 2013, that he left in June 2017 when it was, quote, time for a rotation. He explained that he is not an IG person by trade, but rather comes from an intelligence background. He said he currently works in the field of intelligence regarding weapons of mass destruction. Previously, he served in the U.S. Navy for 21 years and worked in naval intelligence. He said he retired from the Navy in 2002 and that, since then, he has done work for NGA, NCIP, and then joined ICIG. He said that he is self-taught in computers, that he has built his own firewalls, and that he's completed several courses in computers. How did ICIG come to be involved with the Secretary Clinton email investigation? Mr. Rucker said that on March 12, 2015, the Senate sent a letter to ICIG requesting assistance regarding a Russian hacker who allegedly broke into Sidney Blumenthal. Let's see if I can blow that up a bit. Yeah, there we go. Who allegedly broke into Sidney Blumenthal's email account. He said that the Sidney Blumenthal emails looked legitimate and were not at the SSRP level. He said that Redacted, a former CIA employee who worked with Blumenthal, was the author of most of the material. That was determined in part, he said, based on his writing style. Shortly afterwards, he said ICIG received another Senate request for assistance, this time in relation to the email practices of several former Secretaries of State, including Secretary Clinton. He said that through ICIG, he was brought in to assist State in reviewing email information in June 2015. Excuse me. A little too much honey in this, I think. Dave, I'm not sure if Rucker was from that part of the WMD system, because he was in the Navy in 2002, so in 2001 when the towers were hit. He didn't join he didn't leave the ICIG to join the next group until he didn't say who he's with now. Just another intelligence agency, I believe. If you can find that he did say where he's working now, please let me know. I don't want to keep digging and dragging this out longer than I normally do, which is impossible. He said that through ICIG, he was brought in to assist State in reviewing the email information in June 2015. Can you describe your interactions with the FBI regarding the anomaly? Mr. Rucker said that his first interaction was dropping off a packet of information which contained a single printed email that he told the FBI was, quote, not a good sign. In this email, he said, Secretary Clinton replied to an email that she never received. Well, that's not good. He said that he found this data point and reported it to the FBI. He said that he found Carter Heavy Industries' Gmail address, which he had not seen before, and that it appeared to be hidden data. What was the significance of this find, the Carter Heavy Industries email account? Rucker said, I'm not qualified to say, but it wasn't normal to see, and we felt it needed to be reported. He said that they found that all but 4 of the more than 30,000 emails reviewed contained the Carter Heavy Industries email address. Oh boy. Majority. What's your guess as to what the Carter Heavy Industries email address is or why it exists? Mr. Rucker said that by example, he saw an email exchange between Anthony Weiner and his wife and Clinton aide Uma Abedin, where Weiner said that his email was hacked, and he learned that all of his emails were going or being routed to his opposition candidate. Ms. Rucker said that he assumed the anomaly in Secretary Clinton's emails might be something similar, but he can't say for sure. Were there any follow-up discussions within the FBI in which were there any follow-up discussions with the FBI in which they revealed what they found in regards to the anomaly? Mr. Rucker said that he asked Dean Chappell at the FBI to tell him what Carter Heavy Industries means and how it was inserted into Secretary Clinton's emails, but he never found out from him or anyone else at the FBI. He cited 9 pages of the recent ICIG document production to the Senate and pointed out how he asked Mr. Chappell, quote, "If there is a point in all of this when you or someone on the team could explain it to me further, I'd appreciate it." What software did you use damn it. Sorry, guys. What software did you use in examining the Secretary Clinton's emails which you received from the FBI? Mr. Rucker said that IntelliPro was used on the disk once they received it from the FBI. He said that it helps sort data and is used by most major law firms. Kind of interesting that the FBI was using something called IntelliPro when their most infamous operation was COINTELPRO. I wonder if that's a joke for somebody. Majority question continues. Did you have any concerns that the Carter Heavy Industries email was associated with a foreign actor? Mr. Rucker said that he didn't until he brought it to Mr. Call's attention, who recommended that they use Google to look up the email address. He said that they did not find an exact match, but they found that Carter Heavy Industry came back listed as the name of a Chinese trucking company. He said that Mr. McCullough told him that they needed to report the anomaly to the FBI as soon as possible. He said that's when he reached out to Mr. Chappell. Okay, so they did figure that part out. Interesting. Very interesting. Can you describe your meeting at the FBI with Peter Strzok? Mr. Rucker said that Mr. Chappell was normal, or I don't know if it's Chappell or Chappell. I'll probably say both. Was normal and professional as he had come to know him to be, but that he didn't know anything about Mr. Strzok prior to the meeting. Mr. Rucker said that Mr. Strzok seemed to be, quote, aloof and dismissive. Well, that's the Peter Strzok we all know. He said it was as if Mr. Strzok felt dismissive of the relationship between the FBI and the ICIG. He was not very warm. He said that Mr. Strzok didn't ask many questions, including any about SAP-related issues. He said the meeting lasted approximately 30 to 60 minutes, and that only people from the FBI attended. There were no employees from DOJ. Mr. Rucker said that he knows that an FBI attorney was present, but he could not remember the person's name or even whether it was a man or a woman. Can you list all the people who attended the meeting? Mr. Rucker said that besides himself, it was Ms. McMillan, Mr. Chappell, Mr. Strzok, an attorney from FBI OGC, and maybe one other person. Did you recall whether a woman named Tricia Anderson attended? No. What about George Toscas? The name sounds familiar, but I don't recall. Matt Axelrod? No. David Loffman? No. Lisa Page? No, I don't know. Bill Priestap? I don't know. What did you discuss during the meeting with the FBI? Laura Weekly here. CrowdStrike was funded by Google staff on behalf of HRC. That has come out. I had not heard that. You're welcome for the joke, David. You're welcome. Yeah, wow. That's huge. We're going to have to look into that a little bit. So to repeat the question, what did you discuss during the meeting with the FBI? Mr. Rucker said that he discussed SAP with the FBI. He said he discussed another of Secretary Clinton's emails that they were never able to quite figure out. He said he verbally presented this information to Mr. Strzok, which lasted only for a minute or so. He said that he doesn't think he mentioned Carter Heavy Industries by name, but only the appearance of a Gmail address that seemed odd. He said that Mr. Strzok seemed nonplussed by the info, and that he didn't ask any follow-up questions. He said that Mr. Chappelle seemed familiar with the discovery, and he felt like Mr. Chappelle was walling off Mr. Rucker intentionally, as an investigator would, to protect the investigation. Were there any other issues discussed? Mr. Rucker said that they discussed some classification issues that he could not discuss with the committee, but that there were issues that concerned him, that caused him concern. He said that they asked that copies of every email sent to the FBI and be appraised of FBI classification decisions. Formatting keeps shifting here. Is the exhibit from pages 44 to 47 the, quote, Mexico trip report email of the document production in the same format was produced by the FBI for the ICIG? Rucker, no. This is how it looks after going through IntelliPro. Can you tell from metadata in this document where Carter Heavy Industries' Gmail address received Secretary Clinton's emails? Mr. Rucker said that he doesn't know from this document that Carter Heavy Industries received her emails instantly, or whether there was a delay in receipt. What was the difference between the 4 emails that did not contain Carter Heavy Industries' email address and the more than 30,000 emails that did? Mr. Rucker said that there was nothing unique about the 4 Secretary Clinton emails that did not contain the Carter Heavy Industries email address. What was the time frame of the emails reviewed? Mr. Rucker said they reviewed the entire available data produced to the State Department. Let's see if I can get Picasso Noses' attention here. More tea, please, sweetie. Not as much. Hey. Question. When you first identified the Carter Heavy Industries email address, did you assume Secretary Clinton's emails were directed to it in real time? Mr. Rucker said yes, and that based on his reading of the metadata and of his reading of the Anthony Weiner and Uma Abedin email exchange regarding hacking that he referenced earlier, it appears as though the Carter Heavy Industries email address was inserted into Secretary Clinton's server. Have you found evidence to change this view? Mr. Rucker said that he didn't find any evidence that in the remainder of the email review they conducted, but that based on the subpoena issued by the FBI in June 2016, when he learned about this year through a news article, it decreased his confidence level from 90% to 80%. I'm glad he only dropped 10%, because it seems to me that he had no trust in the FBI, at least not for anything they had done in regards to this revelation about Carter Heavy Industries Gmail address. So, I think it's pretty good that he hung on to it. Majority question, did you share your findings about the anomaly with any other agencies? Mr. Rucker said that he did not present this information to anybody but the FBI. Besides conducting a Google search on the Carter Heavy Industries email address, did you conduct any additional research into the anomaly? Mr. Rucker said that he did additional research on his own later in 2016, a few months after he made the referral of information to the FBI, and he found that a common tactic of hackers is to get the emails of a target forwarded or routed to them. He said that the Carter Heavy Industries email address isn't somebody Secretary Clinton intentionally communicated with, but it appears in the metadata of almost all of her emails. Based on your expertise and study, was the Carter Heavy Industries email address inserted into the routing table of Clinton's server? Mr. Rucker said that it appears so, but that he doesn't know for certain because he never had access to Secretary Clinton's server in order to confirm this. Dun, da, da, da. Once again, somebody needed that server, needed at least a true and verified copy of that server, an image, I should say, of that server, and he didn't get it. The FBI didn't get it. DOJ didn't ask for it. Nobody wanted it hard enough to push. And they waited long enough for Clinton to get rid of more than half of the emails on that server, the ones that she thought were the most damaging, more than likely, and gave them the ones that didn't have anything special, which in fact they actually did have a number that were classified, and as we found out now, a number that should have been classified that weren't. Mr. Rucker said there could be another explanation that he's not aware of for seeing that server. Considering the 811C referral made by the FBI by ICIG, did you ever get a formal conclusion or explanation? Mr. Rucker said that he never did. He said he believes that out of professional courtesy, it would have been nice if the FBI gave them an update on whether they were onto something or whether it was nothing. He said that he knows Mr. McCullough received a note of thanks from Director Comey for ICIG's work, but he doesn't know the content of the note. How could you not know the content of the note? Well, okay, I'm sorry. McCullough got it, and he obviously didn't share it with him. Would have been nice if he had, seeing as how he was involved, but nice isn't necessarily politics. Majority. What was contained within the spreadsheets produced and given to the FBI? Mr. Rucker said that they contained a tracking of the emails sent for classification review and that they tracked families of emails. When you were implanted in the State Department's FOIA review, did you come across any evidence that State Department officials were intentionally downgrading classified emails? Mr. Rucker said that he talked to state officials about some employees who were doing this. He said that he was told that Austin Evers and Catherine Duvall were the two attorneys who took steps to downgrade classified emails from B1 to B5. I don't know what that B stands for, but 1 is obviously more important than 5. 4 steps more important than 5. Majority. Did you believe Ambassador Patrick Kennedy was trying to do the same? Mr. Rucker said yes, and that Mr. McCullough was present during some of those meetings, so he has knowledge as well. Mr. Rucker said that at one such meeting, Ambassador Kennedy provided packets of information that were ready to go out to the intelligence community. He said that Ambassador Kennedy threw documents from the panic at him across the table during one of the meetings and yelled, "Why does this need to be classified?" He said that Ambassador Kennedy fought against classifying emails, but that he was not as aggressive in his actions as compared with the steps taken by Mr. Evers and Ms. Duvall. Well, of course, what Obama UN ambassador had any kind of guts when it came to standing up for what's right? Not one. Majority. Were you ever interviewed by DOJ IG? Mr. Rucker said that he was interviewed in August 2018 and that they asked him the same questions that he was being asked today by the committee. Thank you, sweetie. Yeah, I'll give you this one. One more drink. Thank you. Live on air. Hot tea baton pass. Mark your calendars, folks. Let's see, majority. Did you tell them, meaning the DOJ, IG, anything you haven't told us yet? Mr. Rucker asked for a moment to consult with counsel. After conferring for a minute or so, he said that raised several other issues during his interview with DOJ OIG, including whether somebody from ICIG was leaking to the media. Mr. Rucker said it was a small group at ICIG that was working on the Clinton email issue, so it was a concern for Mr. McCullough that somebody was leaking. He said that Mr. McCullough considered pulling and examining everybody's phone records. During the time of the Podesta hack, Mr. Rucker said that there was an email to Clinton attorney David Kendall referencing redacted and a, quote, favorite son, unquote. He said that Paul Wogerum, who was then a counsel at ICIG and whose father was allegedly a pastor to the Clintons, was the only male employee on leave the following day when a meeting with redacted was supposed to take place according to the email. Therefore, he said it was believed that Mr. Wagerman was leaking to redacted. He said that Mr. McCullough made a decision not to confront Mr. Wagerman. Mr. Rucker said that he does not believe that ICIG ever did an official assessment on whether Mr. Wagerman leaked classified information. Well, I mean, why should you? He's a Clinton appointee, or at least a Clinton supporter. I don't know if he was appointed or not, but obviously he's in the bag for Hillary. So why would he even go out of his way, even a little bit, to try and help you in that regard? He said that Mr. Wagerman pushed very hard to be included on the investigation, but he was not part of it. He said that Mr. Wagerman now works at ODNI in the Mission Integration Department. Well, that makes me feel better. Mr. Rucker said that to his knowledge, nobody ever confronted Mr. Wagerman about it. He said that they all signed non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs, regarding their work at ICIG. Mr. Rucker said that a few odd things were happening that were also discussed. He said that a Jeep once followed the ICIG, McCullough, from the State Department to the door of his house. Frame of when this occurred, nor did he record the Jeep's license plate. He said that Mr. Hackett had a Robert Giuffre suit against Ghislaine Maxwell, that once the affidavits had been filed to the police, the interviews with some of the minors who had been allegedly abused by Ghislaine and Maxwell, that they were being followed by private eyes, which was proven, and they were being questioned by private eyes as if the private eyes were actually police officers. They represented themselves as police officers. Yeah, people leak, folks. People leak. Majority. Who made the classification determinations regarding the emails? Mr. Rucker said that the ICIG didn't make any classification determinations. He said that the CIA made most of them and that they utilized a special panel of experienced agents to reach their conclusions. Who hacked Jacob Sullivan's emails, state.gov, and Gmail? Mr. Rucker said that according to classified reporting, it was redacted. Majority. It would be helpful in the near future. It would be helpful if, in the near future, you are able to provide the committee with the following. 1. The Clinton email, which contains her reply to an email that didn't exist or that she did not receive, and which was provided to the FBI by the ICIG in January 2016. 2. The specific email provided to Mr. Chappell, bullet point, ICIG Atkinson. We provided the one and only copy we had to the FBI. This part's scratched through, but I'm going to read it anyway. I think it was an email from Secretary Clinton to Cheryl Mills, and it was the metadata that was concerning, not the content of the email. We already spent 2 days looking for it and couldn't find it. And last bullet point, The majority canceled the request. 3. Examples of private-to-private emails between Secretary Clinton's email server and others which showed the metadata for Carter Heavy Industries. Mr. Rucker said that it should be noted that the server itself is needed to definitively say that Carter Heavy Industries received all of Secretary Clinton's emails in question. That's the end of that. Exhibit 2. 2. Fly. The Honorable John Ronson, this is an unclassified document from the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, or IGIC. This is dated October 25th, 2018. I gotta raise my seat a little bit here. Give me just a second. Thank you. Sorry to have to interrupt. I won't be doing that again because it's as far as up as it goes. Okay, so a letter from the IGIC to Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley. Dear Chairman Johnson and Chairman Grassley. No, I can't have it. There we go. And this is unclassified for something about foreign eyes being able to see this document. I don't remember all the acronyms, unfortunately. Y'all can nail that if you want to. I have enclosed the records requested in your letter, dated September 14, 2018, addressed to the Office of the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. Your letter referenced recent news articles alleging that a Chinese state-owned company hacked former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's non-government server and inserted code that forwarded many, if not all, of her emails to a foreign company. As noted in your letter, the articles reference 2 former ICIG employees, Frank Rucker and Jeanette McMillan. As requested in your letter, enclosed are the records of Mr. Mueller and Ms. McMillan relating to their communications with the Justice Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigations about the alleged intrusion. Please note that the email identified as raw data of email is illustrative of and contains the identical email metadata as an email that Mr. Rucker hand-carried to the FBI in January 2016. Please contact me or the ICIG Legislative Counsel, Melissa Wright, at redacted, I'm sure it's phone number, with any questions. Signed, Michael K. Atkinson. And here are the enclosures. And these are all carbon copied to Daniel Coates, Richard Burr, Mark Warner, Clara McCaskill, and Diane Weinstein. Here is a letter from the Senate to the Inspector General of the IC, and that is, again, Michael Atkinson. So let's see who this is from. This is from Ron Johnson, Chuck Grassley. Okay. Dear Inspector General Atkinson, recent news articles have alleged that a Chinese state-owned company hacked former Secretary Clinton's non-government server and inserted code that forwarded many, if not all, of her emails to the foreign company. The company is reportedly a front for Chinese intelligence. Further, the Intelligence Community Inspector General reportedly discovered the code, and 2 ICIG employees, Frank Rucker and Jeanette McMillan, reportedly briefed the FBI on the alleged intrusion. It is not clear what information the ICIG reported to the FBI or what, if anything, the FBI did with the information. Former FBI Director James Comey said, with respect to potential computer intrusion by hostile actors, we did not find direct evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain in its various configurations since 2009 was successfully hacked. But given the nature of the system and of the actors potentially involved, we assessed that we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence. Okay. To better understand what information Mr. Rucker and Ms. McMillan may have shared with their FBI counterparts, as well as the steps each agency took to determine the veracity of the alleged intrusion, the committee requests all records of Mr. Rucker and Ms. McMillan relating to their communications with the Justice Department and FBI about the alleged intrusion. Please provide the records no later than 5 p.m. on September 28, 2018, so 2 weeks from that day. If you have any questions, please ask, yada, yada, yada. Thank you for your attention. Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley. Yeah, so basically they're saying, hey, we got this information. We don't have the technical ability to verify this for ourselves. We need your help. And we don't trust the FBI or the CIA or the NSA or any other A agency to help us with this. I realize A agency is redundant. Laura Weekly says, by the way, Hat and everyone, pretty sure I learned about Google setting up CrowdStrike on behalf of ARC from Bongino. I wouldn't say if he didn't have proof. I will agree with that completely. Dan Bongino, in my opinion, is a very, very stand-up guy. He does not go into conspiracy theories. He lines up his facts. Now, of course, he's labeled a conspiracy theorist by the left because they have no choice but to try to denigrate someone's reputation when they can't refute their facts, which is basically what they live by. Unfortunately, it's true. I know some people on the left who aren't like that, but generally speaking, that's their job. That's their job. And they do that with great relish and gusto. So, yeah, I would, if you get a chance, Laura, to give me if you get an idea of a date range that show might have been in, so I can search them a little more easily, I would really appreciate it. Or could you tell me how to search on Podbeam, because that's what I'm using as my podcast broadcaster right now. I love it. Good program. And that was carbon copied to Claire McCaskill and Dianne Feinstein, chairman on the House Security and Governmental Affairs, Homeland, and Judiciary. So CHSGA. That's what I couldn't get earlier. Or CSAG. All right. This is a letter from Melissa Wright from the Department of National Intelligence on behalf of William F. Rucker to Dean Chappell from the FBI and Jeanette McMillan of the DNI. A quick, brief, and material drop-off. Good morning, Dean. I hope this finds you and the team doing well. As you probably know, get this over. Nope, no good. As you probably know, we're in the process of closing out our work on the State Department FOIA review of former Secretary Clinton's email. As part of that, IG McCullough has asked me to deliver a package of sensitive material to you and your team. Additionally, he wanted me to run something that I found in my research of the email metadata past you or someone on the team. It's probably nothing, but we would rather be safe than sorry. Tentatively, I'm available to drive down today from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. or tomorrow from 8 a.m. to noon. Is there a day or time that works best for you? Last week. Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you. Yeah, I was pretty busy last week trying to put the computer back together. I did get the memory installed yesterday, by the way. It looks like it turned out great. Things are running a lot better than they were before. We shall see. I got to run one set of tests on it to make sure. One more. And that was written by Frank Rucker, who is the inspector of the ICIG. I say I'm not understanding what this Melissa Wright DNI is at the header here, unless like she's the director and William F. Rucker is her employee, and so she's saying, okay, these are my people. Not really sure. Let's go with that for grins. So this email was sent to, again, Dean Chappelle from William Rucker. This was sent January 14. Hi, Dean. Between 10 and 11 tomorrow works great. I doubt it will take more than 15 minutes, and even then, you probably have time left over. I have an IC badge, so getting in won't pose a problem. I'll see you in room 4865 tomorrow. Thank you. So now they've set up their meeting. Good morning, Dean. I hope this finds you and the team doing well. And this is from Frank Rucker again. As you probably know, we're in the process of closing out our work on the State Department FOIA request of former... Okay, I've already read that. Weird. This is interesting. From Bill Rucker to Dean Chappelle regarding quick brief and material drop-off. Hi, Dean. Sorry I missed you as well. If there is a point in all of this when you or someone on the team could explain it to me further, I'd appreciate it. And this is in response to an email from Dean Chappelle to Frank Rucker, which says, Frank, sir, I missed you. I did get your information, and we were aware of the one thing you found. Yeah, but what did you do about it? So here's another chain starting at the beginning at the bottom. This is from Bill Rucker to Dean Chappelle. I am open at 3 p.m. today or between 2 and 11 tomorrow. Can I meet you at the curb if that's okay? Do you have an IC badge? If so, you should be able to get in the building. I'm in room 4865. And from Frank Rucker to Dean. Hi, Dean. Between 10 and 11 tomorrow works great. I doubt... All right, we already read that. We already read that. And we already read that. Okay. And this is from Dean Chappelle again to Bill Rucker. And it says, the timing is good since our new section chief, Peter Strzok, just reported for duty on Monday. Next Tuesday at either 10 or 11 works for both of us. Also, 3:30 either this Wednesday or Friday works too. And Picasso says Melissa Wright is the ICIG Legislative Counsel. Okay. So I can see why she would be running things to Grassley and the others, Johnson, things like that. But I don't get why she would be involved in this chain directly between two agencies. And back from Bill Rucker to Dean Chappelle. Good morning, Dean. Thank you for the quick reply. I'm sure the new section chief is getting the firehouse treatment this week, and I would hate to add to it. Let's do next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Let's see. Here's another one from Frank to Dean. A little heavier though. Good morning, Dean. IG McCullough would like me to meet with you at your convenience to discuss our ongoing project. Do you have a 15 to 30 minute window available this week or next week to come down to your office? So now the IG is getting involved. And from Bill Rucker to Dean Chappelle. Okay, you will be coming here then? Who else should we expect to come? Yes, I will be coming to you. Right now, I think it will be only me, said Bill Rucker to Dean Chappelle. All right, let's see. That is good. This thing is formatted so horribly. All right, so from yeah, this doesn't make much sense. This seems like it was, there we go, yeah, from Dean Chappelle to Bill Rucker. Is there anything in particular we should prepare for? And this is on February 10, 2016. So I've been going at this for a month. And from Bill Rucker, no, sir, primary purpose is to brief you on our next steps to ensure we don't cause you unnecessary problems. And let's see. So Bill Rucker sends another one to Dean Chappelle and says, "Hi, Dean. Would it be okay if Jeanette tagged along so she could meet the new section chief?" Okay, sounds good. That was a reference to the primary purpose of the brief. There's that again. There's that again. Please. Oh, geez, there's more. Let's see. From Jeanette McMillan, from the DNI to Dean Chappelle. Thanks, Dean. I think Frank is out of the office today, but I confirmed with him that Tuesday, 16 February, 2 p.m. works for his schedule. Thanks for taking the time. Have a good weekend. They couldn't just put this all together as one thing. Now we're in February 12th. From Jeanette McMillan from the DNI to Dean Chappelle, FBI. Thanks, Dean. We understand the need to be flexible. We will make Thursday, 2/18 at 2 p.m. work. This is in response to the message from Dean Chappelle, which says, "I just met with Pete this a.m., of course, Peter Strzok, and reviewed his schedule with him for next week. It turns out he will be out on Tuesday afternoon. Can we move this to 2 p.m. next Thursday, 2/18? His schedule is crazy since he started his new job on Monday. He's finding out how busy being an SES level employee is. Can you check with Frank for next Thursday at 2 p.m.? Okay, sounds good. And then Bill, let's see, Bill writes to Dean and says, "Would it be okay if Jeanette tagged along so she could meet the new section chief?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm about ready to blow these off. Yeah, this is enough. This is enough. This is just blah, 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 blah. Of course, I get to the end when I say that. Okay, so there's data here on different emails. And you can see here, person sent representing email, sullivanjj@state.gov. And then right down here, darn it. I can't. There we go. Right down here, PR received by email address, carterheavyindustries@gmail.com. And person received representing email address, carterheavyindustries@gmail.com. Here they're getting updates on the Mexico trip. Okay, so just goes to show that even fairly non-important emails still went to Carter Heavy. This is from the IGIC. I knew I'd do that. And this is an email to Ron Johnson and Lindsey Graham on December 4th, 2018. This is dated February 26th this year. On December 4, 2018, two Office of the Director of National Intelligence employees met with committee staff in response to a letter sent to the Director of National Intelligence dated September 14, 2018. The subject matter discussed during the meeting related to the work of these individuals while they're employees of the Office of Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. During the meeting, committee staff requested specific follow-up items from the ICIG. Specifically, the staff requested, these are bullet points, copies of 4 documents one individual had in his possession during the meeting, an example of an email in which former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton replied to an email in which she was neither included in the to or from lines in the email, and an example in which the email address carterheavyindustries@gmail.com was present in the metadata on an email that was not transmitted on a government system, an email evidencing a .com to .com exchange. Based on the requests above, the ICIG is providing the enclosed documents in response to the committee staff request. In addition to the December 4, 2018 staff request, the ICIG received a subsequent request through the Office of Senate Security from a member of Senator Grassley's staff for a properly redacted, for official use only, version of the majority staff summary of the December 4, 2018 meeting with the ODNI employees. Based on that request, the ICIG provides the requested document as a separate attachment. Please contact me or the ICIG Acting General Counsel, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Some Podesta emails. From John Podesta to Phil Shirillo. Carbon copy Cheryl Mills, Michael Rodriguez, Heather Samuelson, and Bridget Fallon. So on Tuesday, John Podesta, the redactions are his email address, the email addresses, I should say. Let's see here, where are we at? Okay, from David Kendall, just talked to Cheryl Mills. Just talked to blank about our favorite son. He's meeting with OSC today, which is good and a step in the right direction, but nothing yet public. Blank said she'd heard, but second, third hand, and not from my son, that ICIG was handing out anti-HRC clips to journalists. Have we gotten any inkling of that happening? I certainly haven't, and it seems weird. And Cheryl Mills writes back, see below any Hill suggestion to this effect. Phil Shrillo writes, have not heard that. John Podesta says I'm adding Brian to the chain. No, I don't know anything about that. Okay, here's something about the redaction. This is a reference to Paul J. Wagaman, son of Reverend J. Phil Wagaman, founder of United Methodist Church and Clinton advisor. Aha! Aha! And we had Wagaman come up earlier as well. Was he the one who wanted to insert himself into the investigation, but was shut down? Let's see if I can do a search on that. Okay, so nope, not there. Okay, that was worth a try. Okay, here's an article included in this packet. This is about the Reverend J. Philip Wagaman, Clinton's man in the pulpit. Let's get an idea who the Wagaman family is and where their loyalties lie. Let me check my heat here real quickly. Let's see, CPU 122 degrees, 126, and the system 106 degrees. Oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. You can see at the top left here, I've increased the clock speed to 44 as opposed to 40, and things are running great. My fans aren't even running very hard. One's at 405, one's at 410 RPM, well below their max speed. Life is good, folks. Life is good. Okay, so Ben and Hillary Clinton have found themselves, and again, this is March 16, 1998. The Clintons have found themselves an awfully sympathetic minister, the Reverend Philip J. Wagaman, who provides at a Methodist church a few blocks from the White House. Wagaman has recently sounded less like a clergyman than a purveyor of the Clinton line. Shortly after the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke, he was complaining to the New York Daily News of, quote, a concerted effort to bring the president down, unquote, and accusing Kenneth Starr of, quote, personal interest and bias. Wagaman hoped that the American people would not succumb to hysteria, quote unquote. A few weeks later, he was on Nightline, explaining that character meant infinitely more than sexual morality. Let me finish this sentence. I'll come back to that. Clinton's, quote, commitments to poor people and to persons of ethnic minorities, close quote, were also, quote, issues of character. The fact that those looking at the president, quote, in a more narrow and sometimes more sanctimonious way don't quite catch, close quote. Wagaman perceived, quote, deep well springs of morality and love, close quote, in Clinton, and could not imagine that the country would turn on him, saying, quote, I don't think the American people really want to see him suffer. Well, he was right there. Republicans suffered a major backlash from the Clinton impeachment hearing. But right there, character meant infinitely more than sexual morality. So every time you hear someone on the left bring up Trump's past life of sleeping with models and marrying women who were prettier than the previous wife, just point to this and say it's okay when Clinton did it, according to the head of a major church in the D.C. area. So maybe you could screw off. But remember, it's all, like I said before, it's all BTE versus ATE. The timeline from before Trump was elected compared to after Trump was elected. Nothing happened before ATE. The BTE timeline does not exist. Nothing happened in there. No other president existed in there unless the Democrats need to prop up their narrative by holding up one of these presidents and saying, look at the great things he did, like interning Japanese camps or interning Japanese Americans in camps or resegregating the civil service and the military the way Wilson did. It's bravo Democrats. Then, only last week, Wagaman gave an interview to the New York Times, warning again of an elevation of marital fidelity among other virtues, such as a concern for world peace. Well, let's remember, not being concerned for world peace wasn't necessarily a bad thing in the Old Testament, but adultery would get you stoned to death. So maybe the Reverend needs to flip his readings a little bit. I don't know. I'm not saying anyone today should be stoned to death for adultery. That's insane. The penalties are pretty severe anyway. Civil court rakes you through the coals during the divorce. He also used the occasion to take another swipe at Starr. Quote, the whole purpose in having a special prosecutor is to ensure that there will be no hint of partisanship or self-interest infecting the professional decisions made, close quote. Starr, according to Wagaman, had failed in his duty. See if this will work. Yeah. Wagaman is clearly delighted to have the Clintons in his flock, and they are equally delighted with him. Wagaman is an ethicist of some renown and a veteran political enthusiast. Doesn't mean he's right. As his friend and congregation member George McGovern says, the Reverend is, quote, interested in the whole of society. He does not compartmentalize, close quote. Bullshit. If he's more concerned about being for world peace than he is about adultery, then how could he possibly, as McGovern put it, where is that again? Interested in the whole of society, he does not compartmentalize. The guy's obviously compartmentalizing, George. Come on. Wagaman has been a faithful advocate of nationalized health care, environmentalism, gay marriage, the power of labor unions, and what may be roughly called social democracy. Roughly? Of legal abortion, even the partial birth variety, he is a firm defender, a man of God, a firm defender of abortion. Wonderful. Hey, Iron Slippers, welcome. Glad you can make it. Okay, he's a defender. He is the founder of a group dedicated to countering the religious right. And when it comes to the scriptures, he is an interpreter of startling elasticity. In short, Wagaman may be the most Clinton-friendly pastor in all of Christendom. Bill Clinton is a lifelong Southern Baptist. His wife is the Methodist, but he has found a home at Wagaman's Foundry Methodist Church. On a typical Sunday, the president arrives with a Bible in hand, which he waves at cheering onlookers, photographers, and TV cameras. Methodists, however, ordinarily do not bring their own Bibles. At Foundry, Bibles are provided in the pew racks. McGovern guesses that the congregation is, quote, Republican in complexion, an older, more conservative crowd. Indeed, Elizabeth Dole used to belong, but she left in '94 after finding herself uncomfortable with the church over what she describes as a wide range of philosophical issues. Well, if you can chase Elizabeth Dole out, then yeah, you're doing something wrong, bud. You're doing something wrong. At about the same time, Cal Thomas used his syndicated column to publicize Wagaman's political and theological beliefs. Wagaman denounced Thomas in his next sermon. Okay, he publicized your beliefs. Was he critical of them? It doesn't say that here. Wagaman denounced Thomas in his next sermon, along with Mark Tooley, a researcher at the Institute on Religion and Democracy, who had made a thorough study of the minister's career. In a subsequent newspaper article, Wagaman, a la Clinton, drew a connection between the terrorist bombing in Oklahoma City and, quote, corrosive words and destructive actions. Quote, people in the media don't plant bombs, but if they plant hatred and division, doesn't that affect the behavior of unstable hearers or readers? So, again, BTE. Wow. As for the Doles, Bob had attended occasionally with Elizabeth. Wagaman, quote, grieved over their departure. I have to confess that. I thought it would have been wonderful to have both candidates worshiping together. Yeah, so you could run the one candidate into the ground while supporting Clinton. In many ways, Wagaman is a model of the contemporary mainline clergyman. He was born in 1932, the son of a Midwestern minister and his wife. An eager student, he distinguished himself at the College of the Pacific and Boston University Theology School, which he entered months after Martin Luther King had left. In '64, he ran for the California legislature on the Democratic ticket, losing but securing a place on the Democratic State Central Committee, where he stayed for 2 years. Yep, nothing like combining religion with politics. Thereafter, he devoted himself to teaching, writing, and political causes. He marched with King in the South and protested the Vietnam War in Washington. Quote, I still remember being tear-gassed near Lafayette Park, close quote. Yeah, everybody was tear-gassed if they protested the war and went beyond the sidewalks and things like that. The police were incredibly critical of pretty much the entire anti-war movement. Not saying it's good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that's the case. I think people should have the right to assemble peaceably. Peaceably assemble. He was not exactly a cold warrior, writing in 1967, quote, the USSR is characteristic of the more tolerant communist arrangements for religion. Yeah. The communists were tolerant towards religion. Right. Didn't the communists outlaw and jail Jehovah's Witnesses? Or was that after the USSR fell? It was the Russian Federation of States that did it. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, it goes to show. And, quote, it is highly questionable whether Christians in Russia or China are treated any worse than Marxists are treated in the United States, close quote. Oh, you're drawing a parallel between people of God and Marxists who are godless and who agitate for the upheaval of government and society? You're drawing a parallel between those people? This guy's a bomb thrower. In 1974, he authored a pamphlet defending the Supreme Court's ruling in Roe v. Wade. Well, there's no surprise. Quote, it will do no good to argue that it is possible to affirm the sanctity of life in the presence of even the most miserable of circumstances. That is romantic sentimentality. Wagner also cautioned against a, quote, theological overvaluing of early embryonic life, opining that abortion may be faithful obedience to the God of life and love. I'm going to read that one again, folks, just so we make sure that everybody heard it the first time. It will do no good to argue that it is possible to affirm the sanctity of life in the presence of even the most miserable of circumstances. That is romantic sentimentality. And he cautioned against a theological overvaluing of early embryonic life, opining that abortion may be faithful obedience to the God of life and love. This guy's insane. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Wagaman taught at Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, eventually becoming its dean. Ken Starr, incidentally, sits on the seminary's board. Wagaman also increased his reputation as a theologian, radical, joining Jesse Jackson, Harvey Cox, and the Berrigan brothers in blasts against Israel, serving as a chairman of an infant formula task force, and so on. Okay, I remember the infant formula scandal. That was a big deal. Nestle's was promoting powdered formula to women in third world countries, women who did not have access to clean water, women who could not afford or wait all the time for the next shipment to arrive to feed their babies continuously. So they would cut the formula to make it last, and the kids were dying of malnutrition. Meanwhile, they'd been doing perfectly well nursing these children for hundreds of thousands of years. Suddenly Nestle says, oh, there's a market here. We need to destroy the fabric of society. Bravo. Bravo. I don't remember how that wound up claiming out. Okay. All the while he was pushing the frontiers of the sexually permissible, claiming, for example, that, quote, it is quite possible that some people have received considerable human fulfillment and enhancement of self-esteem on the basis of short, never-to-be-repeated sexual encounters. And it says parenthetically, which laymen can refer to as, quote, one-night stands. So he's also for sleeping around. Yeah, that was definitely, I believe it was the Sermon on the Mount that said, yea, verily, if you find someone attractive and you're both a little drunk, go back to your place and hook up and never think of it again. It is okay in the eyes of the Lord. Right. He was also casting a pox on both, quote, Marxist communism and laissez-faire capitalism, judging them not suitable for Christian economic thinking, but counting capitalism as the greater offender against the environment. Yeah, because all the Marxists ever did was just put bodies in landfills, which is renewable energy, right? Right? Just put a probe in there and suck out the gases as they come out, and light a few homes. Sure. That's much less an offender than capitalism. It was in '92 that Wagaman left Wesley and assumed the pulpit of the Foundry Methodist, which had dismissed its previous minister for sexual indiscretions with church members. Well, Wagaman wouldn't have cared about that. Suffer the babes in the pews unto me. Quote, to return. When Bill Clinton fought off, quote, bimbo eruptions during the Democratic primaries, phrase I believe coined by Hillary, or Stephanopoulos. Sorry for getting that mixed up. Yeah, either her or George Papadopoulos. Her or Stephanopoulos came up with that. Pretty cheesy. Pretty scummy. Wagaman spoke up for Clinton, pointing out that the governor and his wife had remained married, which was, quote, not unimportant. Well, they're a power couple, folks. Step on all of this. Very good, Iron Slipper. Very good. I like that. Step on all of this. Well, certainly step on all of us who are women. I know that ruins the alliteration, but still. They'd remain married. They're a power couple. Hillary knew that if she hung with Bill, she'd get her best chance at being president ever. She knew that. That was her entire career path when she married him and pushed him to be governor of Georgia. Arkansas. Sorry, governor of Arkansas. That he would rise to prominence. She'd rise with him, and then later on she'd get some plum assignments and ultimately have a great shot at becoming president. That's why she stayed married, Wagaman, not out of love, but out of greed. Wagaman made no apologies for his forays into politics. Quote, to ignore the issues would be a dereliction of duty, close quote. Did Scripture require universal access to health care? Yes, just as Jesus fed the entire multitude, not merely a portion of it. It wasn't health care, that was a miracle. We cannot provide miracles through government, you idiot. In 1994, Wagaman helped launch the Interfaith Alliance, hoping to offset the influence of Pat Robertson and other conservatives. 2 years later, he signed a letter in support of partial birth abortion, agreeing that, quote, none of us can discern God's will as well as the woman herself. We do not discern God's will. We give ourselves up to it, live our lives as best we can, and help it mold us. We know God's teachings. We do not know God's will. Wagaman has been particularly empathetic in his embrace of gays. Their right to be ordained as ministers, their right to marry. I got no problem with that. The National Methodist Church maintains that homosexuality is, quote, incompatible with Christian teaching, which it is. But Wagaman has made Foundry, quote, a reconciling church, meaning that it looks with favor on gay relationships and marriages. A year ago, he lent his name to a, quote, statement of conscience, arguing that to, quote, withhold rituals of support for committed relationships is unconscionable. A good lot of, close quote, a lot of good people have been injured by the church, he told a reporter, and it's time we call attention to that. Well, define injured. I suppose you could say by banning homosexuality and help create laws that made it a sin. A criminal offense to be gay. Remember, I think it was criminal offense to be gay in the UK up until the late 60s, early 70s. And led people to some very, very harsh lives, very onerous conditions, including jail. The guy who invented the computer helped to invent, the computer that wound up breaking the Enigma code in World War II and saving probably 2 years, if not 3 years, of war with Germany. He wound up killing himself after being arrested for being gay. He had to take shots to reduce his sexual urges. Yeah, Laura, those are the scariest words. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. I used that once when I was an air traffic controller. When I was in training on ground control, and I helped a guy get around the airport. He didn't know which way was which, and so I gave him what's called progressive instructions. Got him here, got him there, got him to where he needed to go. And he comes on the radio after we parked, and he said, "Hey, thank you guys." And I said, "We're the government. We're here to help." And my instructor ripped my headset out of the socket and made me go down to the break room where he chewed me out. No sense of humor whatsoever. Glad I quit that job. It was a terrible job for me. It's a life-saving effort for the people who can do it. Literally life-saving. I can't do it. I couldn't do it. But okay, so we go there. He's for the gays, which is great. Good for him. Wagaman is a devoted left liberal, but he is no flake. His writings and conversations exhibit a wide-ranging intelligence, solid learning, and for the most part, fair-mindedness towards his adversaries. He is a modern-day proponent of the old social gospel, which George McGovern locates, quote, at the heart of the Christian message. I have never heard of the old social gospel. Let's do a quickie on this. Oops. So used to describe a Protestant Christian intellectual movement that came to prominence in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Those who adhered to a social gospel sought to apply Christian ethics to social problems, such as poverty, slums, poor nutrition, education, alcoholism, crime, and war. Okay, so being charitable. And applying Christian ethics to social problems. I think we do that. But now we do it incorrectly. The whole war on poverty was a complete failure. But it was given with good intentions, at least except on Johnson's behalf. That was an entirely different matter. But I don't know if that was even necessary. It seems to me like a feel-good movement just designed to make people run their religions and politics. Let's see. No Flake, Social Gospel. McGovern contends that Wagaman, while in robes, quote, never says anything partisan, never gets into specific political actions, close quote. Is that why the Doles left? Because he wasn't getting political? Sorry about that. Sounds to me like the guy's, again, a left-wing bomb thrower. Still, the Reverend finds it hard to resist the political arena, dashing off a column, for instance, on the desirability, on the italicized morality of portraying Franklin Roosevelt seated in a wheelchair. Why? It sounds like to me like this guy's got the intersectional thing going for him. He wants Roosevelt portrayed in a wheelchair, so for the morality of it, for giving Roosevelt victim points. There are two pictures that exist of showing Roosevelt when he was the president in a wheelchair. Two. That's how hard the press worked to cover up the fact that he was an invalid. To continue, for Clinton, he is perfect. The president no doubt sits comfortably as Wagaman preaches. In a 1994 interview, Clinton said that Christianity, quote, frees you of all the guilt that you would otherwise carry around from all the mistakes you make. Close. I mean, the important thing to me about my life and my faith is that every day I get to get up and try again, close quote. Because, quote, the God I believe in is a God of second chances, close quote. Wagaman surely concurs, being, as he and his admirers constantly avow, non-judgmental. Yet Wagaman is not completely without severity, not completely unwilling to condemn. Starr's taping of Monica Lewinsky at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, that Wagaman insists was, quote, a moral outrage, close quote. Yeah, the guy's a complete hypocrite. Complete hypocrite, and it sounds like he rubbed off on his son quite spectacularly. Pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Woeful and disdainful. There they are, they're back. My thesaurus. Yeah, so nice job, Reverend. Nice job making Bill Clinton feel like a moral person. That works. That works. Maybe Hillary is Eleanor reincarnated to Skullcram. I like that. Yeah. Because although the parallels are amazing, absolutely amazing. So that's a very good point. I'll go along with that completely. And the author of this article, Jay Nordlinger, is associate editor of the Weekly Standard. Let's hear it for the Weekly Standard. Okay. This is a list of the documents that were sent out in this request. And this email is from David Adams to Cheryl Mills, Patrick Kennedy, Philip Gordon, Roberta Jacobson, Jacob Sullivan, and carbon copied to Joseph McManus. This was sent on December 12th, 2011. All. The Senate voted for cloture on Norm Eisen 70-16 and voice voted his nomination. The Senate failed to invoke cloture on Mary Carmen appointee 49, Marilyn Carmen Aponte 49-39. The only Republicans we picked up were Brown, Massachusetts, and Dave Collins. And here are the votes on Aponte and Eisen. Metadata attached to that. I'm sure let's just back up a little second and look for our favorite people. I did not see heavy industries in this. Let's look one more time. Nope, this must be one of the ones that it didn't pick up. Okay, another email about the votes for Aponte and Ison. Not surprised, this is from Hillary to D.S. Adams, Cheryl Mills, Philip Kennedy, Philip Gordon, excuse me, R.S. Jacobson, and Jay Sullivan. Okay. She uses both their, let's see, I see what's going on. Never mind. Again, this is out from Hillary. Not surprised after my convo with KBH. Do we know why McConnell was so hard against her? Here's Carter Heavy. Right here. So we got him. So this message contained that. Scroll. And again from Hillary. Could you work with Derek, Philippe, and others to draft this report for us to send to the president after our next trip? We could work on it during the trip. Let's discuss tomorrow. Thanks. This is the 100-day report. So why Hillary is working on the report for the first 100 days of Bill being in office, I would like to know. Can you imagine if Melania had any effort in drafting a statement out of the White House that was basically an official press release for the president? Oh my God. The world would implode. So let's see the 100-day report. There's Carter Heavy Industry again. Thank you very much. All right, so Exhibit 4. Getting close to the end here, folks. This was sent on April 9th of this year. The Honorable Ron Johnson, Chairman of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, and the Honorable Charles Grassley, member and former chairman on the Committee for the Judiciary. Dear Chairman Johnson and Grassley, we're writing a response to your letter to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Michael K. Atkinson, dated September 14, 2018, about media reports containing unsourced allegations that a Chinese state-owned company hacked former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private email server and inserted code that forwarded her emails to the foreign company. Your letter requested information from the Office of the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community and the Federal Bureau of Investigation regarding whether the FBI personnel conducting the investigation of former Secretary Clinton's use of a private email server considered this alleged intrusion information in connection with its investigation. The ICIG and the DOJ Office of Inspector General worked together to identify and obtain information responsive to your request. We reviewed the pertinent documents and interviewed relevant personnel. Below we provide the information that we learned. Background information from the DOJ OIG pre-election report. In June 2018, the DOJ OIG issued a report titled, A Review of Various Actions by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Justice in Advance of the 2016 Election, also known as the Pre-Election Report. In the pre-election report, DOJ OIG addressed various allegations concerning the FBI's and the department's investigation of former Secretary Clinton's use of a private email server known as the mid-year investigation, including the FBI's efforts to identify cyber intrusions into Secretary Clinton's servers. As we discuss in detail below, the allegations in the media reports from August 2018 of potential hacking of former Secretary Clinton's private email server by a Chinese state-owned company is a result of an email address that a former ICIG analyst observed in late 2015 or early 2016 during his work-related review of emails from former Secretary Clinton's private email server. The pre-election report described the information gathered by the mid-year investigation regarding the creation and use of that particular email address. Specifically, as detailed on pages 78 to 80 of the pre-election report, this email address was created by Paul Gambetta, who worked for Platte River Networks, the company that administered Clinton's third email server. Gambetta told the FBI, as discussed on pages 102 to 107 of the pre-election report, that he created and then used this dummy email account to transfer emails that had been archived from former Secretary Clinton's second private email server into a mailbox entitled HRC Archive on the PRN server. As further described in the pre-election report, no other evidence gathered by the FBI, including emails, PRN business records, and the testimony of other witnesses, corroborated Gambetta's account that he had transferred former Secretary Clinton's emails from an archive laptop to the PRN server in early 2014. The pre-election report did not identify the name of this Gambetta email address or any other private email address, instead referring to it as Gambetta's dummy email account. Okay, this may be explained further later on, but let's dissect this a little bit. Paul Gambetta said that he created the Carter Heavy Industries at gmail.com address. My question is, why would you use Gmail when you already have a server network up and running? You can create your own domain, and a domain that is not 2 letters different or 3 letters different than a Chinese trucking company. Why in God's green earth would you do those two things together? You would not want Gmail humming through those emails as they do, and you certainly would have no reason to make it look like an email account from a Chinese government run company. That's insane. That is not a coincidence. That is bullshit. He knows that that was nothing to do with him. He knows that that was inserted by the Chinese or a person favorable to them, and he never caught it. He knows his butt's on the line, and so he's trying to dance, shimmy, and boogaloo his way out of the web that he's entrapped himself in by putting together this server with Hillary in the first place. Yeah, no, Iron Slippers, it was a Gmail account. Carter Heavy Industries at gmail.com. Now, unless he can create a separate address using Gmail as the service, I don't know. Excuse me, just a second. Okay, I got you. Thank you. Live T introduction 2. So yeah, this is, and as Skullcram said, nobody said these people were smart or careful. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Can you imagine having all these emails go through your system and not once checking them for any nefarious accounts coming off of them? That's, man, Platte River's a bunch of idiots. To continue. Excuse me. Additionally, on pages 75 and 76, the pre-election report stated that the FBI conducted forensic analysis of various servers and devices used by former Secretary Clinton, including the PRN server, and did not identify any cyber intrusions into former Secretary Clinton's email accounts. The FBI has no way of knowing if that was an accurate image because it was not done by them, it was given to them. We know that the FBI got a dummy, the Capitol Police got a dummy server account from one of the idiots who was covering up for the Allen brothers in the Democratic email scandal that was never covered by the press, and so basically no one knows about it except us. Yeah, I'd lean on that too. I'd definitely put all my eggs in that basket. To continue, the pre-election report summarized the results of the FBI's forensic analysis as followed. These are bullet points. 1. The FBI identified one successful compromise of an account belonging to one of former President Clinton's staffers on a different domain within the same server used by former Secretary Clinton, but was unable to identify the individual responsible for the compromise. Let's catch up with the footnotes on this. Okay, we don't need that. The PRN server became active in June 2013 after Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. So he certainly didn't search all of her secretary emails that would have shown the Carter Heavy Industries CC all over them. And the third one, the mid-year investigation is outlined on pages 78, 79, and 80 of the pre-election report, obtained court orders for subscriber information and metadata for private email accounts used by 5 individuals associated with former Secretary Clinton, including the dummy email account created by Combetta. The mid-year investigation also obtained a search warrant for the contents of Combetta's dummy email account. The court order and search warrant for the Combetta dummy email account were unsealed by the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia on June 5, 2018. However, the username portion of the email address, i.e. the information to the left of the @ symbol, remained redacted in the unsealed order. Of course. Bullet point 2. The FBI confirmed with compromises to email accounts belonging to certain individuals who communicated with former Secretary Clinton by email, such as Jake Sullivan and Sidney Blumenthal, and, last bullet point, the FBI identified vulnerabilities in former Secretary Clinton's server systems and found that there had been numerous unsuccessful attempts by potential malicious actors to exploit those vulnerabilities. Well, yeah, if you can identify them, that means they're script kiddies who are pounding away at their keyboards trying to get something done but don't quite have the sophisticated tools in order to do it. Any major state actor, like Russia or China, would be able to slip a Trojan horse into those emails, into that server, without so much as a blink, and not leave a trace. But this is the FBI talking, so we have to believe them. To continue. No, Cat. No. No, you're not up here. You're not up here. Down with the other ones. Good kitty. As stated on page 76 of the pre-election report, the FBI agent who conducted the forensic analysis told the DOJ OIG that, although he did not believe there was, quote, any way of determining 100%, close quote, whether former Secretary Clinton's servers had been compromised, he felt, quote, fairly confident that there wasn't an intrusion, close quote. Right. When asked whether a sophisticated foreign adversary could cover its tracks to avoid detection, he stated, quote, they could, yeah, but I felt as if we coordinated with the right units at headquarters for those specific adversaries, and the information that was returned back to me was that there was no indication of a compromise. Another reason to completely and without any credulous whatsoever believe in the FBI. Or incredulity, excuse me. Information concerning the Chinese hacking allegations. Following the issuance of the pre-election report, several members of Congress raised concerns that the FBI had reportedly ignored information provided to it by the ICIG showing that former Secretary Clinton's email server may have been compromised by a Chinese company or the Chinese government. We understand that these concerns were based on information received by at least one member of Congress relating to observations reportedly made by a former ICIG analyst who had reviewed emails obtained from former Secretary Clinton's private server before and during the mid-year investigation as part of coordinating the intelligence community's classification review process. The ICIG and DOJ OIG separately interviewed the former ICIG analyst, hereinafter referred to as the, quote, former ICIG analyst. The former ICIG analyst stated that upon reviewing the electronic copies of former Secretary Clinton's emails received by the ICIG from the FBI, he observed that the email's routing information included an embedded email address. The embedded email address was the dummy email address discussed above, which the mid-year investigation had determined was created and used by Combetta. The former ICIG analyst further told our offices that he noticed that the email address was embedded in the middle of the email strings. The former ICIG analyst referred to the embedded email address as, quote, an anomaly. Additionally, the former ICIG analyst said that he found this anomaly in all but 4 of the 30,490 copies of former Secretary Clinton's emails received by the ICIG. The former ICIG analyst said he believed the recipient, based on other information the former ICG, sorry, I skipped the line. He believed the dummy email address may have been forwarded to former Secretary Clinton's emails to an unauthorized recipient based on other information the former ICIG analyst observed during his review of former Secretary Clinton's emails. Specifically, the former ICIG analyst stated that during his review of former Secretary Clinton's emails, he saw an email exchange between one of Secretary Clinton's aides and the aide's spouse, in which the spouse claimed that the spouse's emails had been routed to an unauthorized recipient through an embedded code in the spouse's emails. The former ICIG analyst believed the dummy email address in former Secretary Clinton's emails might have had a similar effect, but he could not say for sure. The former ICIG analyst brought his concerns to the attention of then Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, I. Charles McCullough III. According to the former ICIG analyst, former Inspector General McCullough and the former ICIG analyst conducted a Google search of the dummy email address. The search returned results that included a company named Shandong Carter Heavy Industry Machinery Company Limited, located in the Shandong province of China. This company name was similar but not identical to the username of the dummy email address, though no part of the dummy email address username referenced Shandong or any other Chinese province. Right. So the Chinese are going to embed a blind carbon copy address that is going to have the name of the province of the people who are running it, or at least the province that the Chinese government placed the corporation in. So what if it didn't say Shandong or Sichuan or Hong Kong or anything like that? So what? You can't tell me that some guy with Platte River Network is going to just walk up to a server and type in Carter Heavy Industries by random. That's the whole infinite monkeys in a room with infinite time can recreate the works of Shakespeare. This is not comparable at all. This is ridiculous. Based on the Google search results showing the similarity between the dummy email address, username, and the address of the Chinese company, together with the presence of the dummy email address in all but 4 of the 30,490 copies of former Secretary Clinton's emails received by the ICIG, the former ICIG analyst stated that he believed Clinton's private email server may have been hacked by a Chinese company or the Chinese government. The former ICIG analyst had no further information connecting the dummy email address with any Chinese entity. Nor could he have, because it's not his job to investigate it further. He was told, we're going to turn this over to the FBI. It's not our purview. We don't have the resources, etc., etc. It's the FBI's job. Let the FBI do it. So him not having that information is no basis for giving the FBI a pass for saying that it wasn't a Chinese company front who was getting those emails. That is a pathetic attempt at misdirection. To continue, the former ICIG analyst further stated that, at the direction of former Inspector General McCullough, the ICIG analyst reported the information to the FBI team conducting the mid-year investigation in early 2016. Specifically, the former ICIG analyst stated that he contacted an assistant special agent in charge in the FBI's Washington field office, with whom the ICIG had interacted with previously on its review of former Secretary Clinton's emails, to provide the information in January 2016. In an email to the WFO ASAC dated January 14, 2016, the former ICIG analyst stated the following. This is an internal quote. As you probably know, we are in the process of closing out our work on the State Department FOIA review of former Secretary Clinton's email. As part of that, former IG McCullough has asked me to deliver a package of sensitive material to you and your team. Additionally, he wanted me to run something that I found in my research of the email metadata past you or someone on the team. It's probably nothing, but we would rather be safe than sorry. Continuing. The former ICIG analyst told the DOJ OIG that he scheduled a meeting with the WFO ASAC to discuss the email metadata inside, but the meeting did not occur. The former ICIG analyst said that he instead dropped off the information at the WFO ASAC's office. The information consisted of a paper copy of a sample email from former Secretary Clinton, evidencing the dummy email address. Emails obtained by the ICIG and DOJ OIG show that former ICIG analyst dropped off the information at the WFO ASAC's office on January 15, 2016. The former ICIG analyst said that the WFO ASAC responded to the information and informed him that the FBI was aware of the dummy email address. Specifically, emails were obtained by the ICIG and DOJ OIG to show a response of January 15, 2016 from the WFO ASAC stating, "I did get your information and we are aware of the one thing you found." And in the footnote at the bottom, responding to this sentence, information obtained by the DOJ OIG during the pre-election review indicated that the FBI knew about the dummy email address embedded in former Secretary Clinton's emails and that it was associated with Gambetta before January 14, 2016. Yeah, associated with Gambetta, right. In a follow-up response, the former ICIG analyst asked the WFO ASAC, "If there is a point in all of this when you or someone on the team could explain it to me further, I'd appreciate it." However, the former ICIG analyst said that no one from the FBI subsequently explained to him how the dummy email address had been inserted into the emails to or from Secretary Clinton. That's footnote 7. As described above and on pages 79 and 80 of the pre-election report, the FBI obtained a court order and a search warrant for Gambetta's dummy email account. Both remained under seal until the conclusion of the DOJ OIG review, when the department sought a court order authorizing the release of sealed information that did not otherwise affect individual privacy interests, permitting DOJ OIG to include this information in the report. To continue, the former ICIG analyst said that he and the ICIG's then general counsel subsequently met with FBI officials involved in the mid-year investigation, including the WFO ASAC, as well as former Deputy Assistant Director Peter Strzok. Emails obtained by the ICIG and the DOJ OIG show that this meeting took place on February 18, 2016. The former ICIG analyst said that at this meeting he mentioned the dummy email address that he observed in the emails from former Secretary Clinton's server. According to the former ICIG analyst, the WFO ASAC seemed familiar with the dummy email address. We also interviewed the ICIG's former general counsel, who was... Wait a minute. Why would the Washington field office assistant special agent, why would he be familiar with the dummy email address at that point when Strzok was denying it existed or blowing off any attempts to bring it up? Why would they have spread that information? Former ICGC. Huh. Weird. I don't remember them saying that they briefed the Washington field office. Oh, no, my mistake. There it is right there. I just read it and I'd already forgotten it. My mistake. Specifically, emails obtained by the ICIG and DOJ OIG show a response on January 15, 2016 from the WFO ASEC stating, I did get your information and we were aware of the one thing you found. I can't believe I already forgot that. I apologize for wasting your time. Continuing. We also interviewed the ICIG's former general counsel who was present with the former ICIG analyst at the meeting. Although I'm not asking, how did he know about it before the ICIG came to him? People came to him. Now I'm wondering. Because they said they weren't looking for it. Then they found it after they told them about it and blew it off. I'm completely screwed up on the timeline here. None of this makes any sense. I need a whiteboard and red yarn. We also interviewed the ICIG's former general counsel, who was present with the former ICIG analyst at the meeting with the FBI on February 18, 2016. The former general counsel said that she recalled a meeting at the FBI that took place sometime in early 2016, and that Strzok may have been among those at the meeting, but she could not specifically recall. The former general counsel said that she recalled the former ICIG analyst expressing frustration sometime after the meeting that the FBI was not getting back to him to explain the dummy email address, but that her reaction was that it was quote-unquote typical for communications with the FBI regarding an ongoing criminal investigation to be a quote one-way street, in which the ICIG would provide information to the FBI about an ongoing FBI investigation, and the FBI would not respond. There's your Mueller FBI for you. Mueller constructed FBI, run by Comey, a well-oiled machine designed to screw Republicans and backfill for Democrats. In my opinion. To continue. The former general counsel recalled that the former ICIG analyst identified an email, quote, Dropbox, in former Secretary Clinton's emails that the analyst believed might resolve to a foreign company. The Dropbox referred to the dummy email address. The ICIG's former general counsel stated that her reaction to the information the former ICIG analyst discovered was that they needed to let the FBI know about it, but that she never saw evidence, and was unaware the ICIG ever concluded that a foreign company inserted code into the copies of former Secretary Clinton's emails reviewed by the ICIG. During a DOJ OIG interview in early June 2018, the WFO ASEC was asked about his interactions with the ICIG. He told the DOJ OIG that he primarily dealt with the former ICIG analyst regarding the classification review process and did not remember receiving anything from him related to evidence of hostile intrusions or email routing data. How convenient. And no one wrote anything down during these meetings. I received this or he received it at. Just that they dropped it off. In an interview with continuing with the DOJ OIG on April 20, 2018, Strzok was asked about news articles containing containing unsourced allegations that he had ignored evidence of a compromise of former Secretary Clinton's server and told DOJ OIG that the allegations were, quote, not accurate and that he did not know, quote, where that would come from. Additionally, the DOJ OIG reviewed business records concerning the Gambetta dummy email account that were obtained by the mid-year exam investigation pursuant to court order. These records reflect that the dummy email account was created by Gambetta on August 20, 2012, about 2 years after the date of the Clinton emails that the FBI found in that dummy email account. Aha! Thank you. Finally, some light. Finally, something shown on this damn basement with spiders and cockroaches and no lights. Once again, the dummy email account, the Heavy Industries account, was created by Gambetta on August 20, 2012, about 2 years after the date the Clinton emails contained the dummy email account. Let's look at footnote 9 here. Subscriber and login information obtained by the FBI confirmed that the dummy email account was Gambetta's. Business records show that the account was created by a subscriber whose phone number was registered to Gambetta, and account logins in 2015 and 2016 were from an IP address linked to the location where Gambetta lived and worked remotely for PRN. Yeah. You're not giving us... Okay, so 2012, again, 2012 that account was created. So, the Chinese abandoned the account, or Gambetta just makes up a dummy account to make it look like make it look like he created a dummy account, used his who is information. He may have gotten it from the Chinese, and the Chinese may have found a different way to get the emails without using BCC anymore. I'm sure they figured that out after a few years, and therefore they wouldn't need to use that email address anymore. They drop it, Gambetta picks it up a few years later, only logs into it twice in 2015 and 2016. Sorry, it says logins in, not only, so maybe a couple times, but still he created it in 2012, and he only logs into it in 2015 and 2016. That's kind of sad. How is he transferring all those emails? Okay, to continue. Thus, because Gambetta's dummy email account did not exist until 2012, emails from 2010 could not have been auto-forwarded to the dummy email address at that time. Further, the DOJ OIG did not identify any information obtained by the FBI during the mid-year investigation reflecting that Gambetta's dummy email account was associated with a Chinese company or the Chinese government. Again, that wasn't their job and they didn't have the ability. In addition, based on the evidence the DOJ OIG reviewed, the FBI did not find evidence during its mid-year investigation that Gambetta or anyone else forwarded classified emails from the dummy email account to a foreign or domestic entity. Then what was that account doing there? Why would a blind carbon copy account be on Secretary Clinton's email addresses, the ones that came from her private server, if no one actually created it until 2 years later? Explain to me how that comes into play. Jesus. The DOJ OIG, to continue, sought to interview Gambetta regarding the dummy email account. However, through counsel, Gambetta declined the DOJ OIG's interview request, and neither the DOJ OIG nor the ICIG have the authority to compel non-agency issues to provide testimony. Yeah, I remember Gambetta, if I'm not mistaken, got immunity from the mid-year exam team, or he just refused to respond to any of the subpoena requests, and they let him skate instead of taking him to jail like they're threatening to do for Trump for things that they have no business asking for in the first place. Jason, good day, sir. Good day to you. Did they all confess? Let's see. If I thought about it completely and went to put, a very long and detailed answer on it, I would say that answer would be no. Nobody said they did anything wrong. The two heroes in this are the people from the Inspector General of shoot, where are they from again? Let me back this up. Where am I at here? Page 104. All right, let's see here. I want to get this right. Oh gosh, who are they with? All right, somebody help me with those people. I can't believe I forgot already. Oh, here we go. McMillan was one of them, and they're with the intelligence IG, and Mr. Rucker and Ms. McMillan. They worked with the ICIG and did a review of the emails that Clinton had on her server, and they found the Chinese carbon copies. And the FBI took the information and buried it, and then said that there was no foreign hacking, and no one should talk to them about it anymore. The best part, though, is right. I don't know if you just heard this, but the email address was carterheavyindustries@gmail.com, and according to the guy who ran the Clinton account at Platte River, he said that he created that email account in order to move emails to an archive that they subsequently deleted right after the government said they wanted them. But it turns out that email that he created was done in 2012, and there are emails bearing that same email address, which coincides quite nicely with the Chinese company, not perfectly, but nicely, and those were on there in 2010, and no one can explain how that happened. And he only logged into that account after he created it in 2012, excuse me. He jumped into it twice, in 2 separate years, I should say. He jumped into it in 2015 and 2016, although how many times he accessed it was not stated. All right, I think that's pretty accurate. Here we go. Yeah, it's right here on page page 104, the top of page 104, David. Jason, you can read that. And so Gambetta didn't respond to the request to testify, of course. In response to a DOJ OIG document subpoena to Gambetta seeking, among other things, any records regarding the creation or establishment of the username for the dummy email account and any relationship between Gambetta and Shandong Carter Heavy Industries Machinery Company Limited, Gambetta's counsel responded that Gambetta had no documents responsive to the subpoena. Counsel further stated to the DOJ OIG that the dummy email account address was a made-up name and that Gambetta had no connection to and had never heard of Shandong Carter Heavy Industry Machinery Company Limited. The DOJ OIG did not identify any evidence during its review of the FBI's mid-year investigation to contradict the information provided by Gambetta's counsel. Accordingly, other than the similarly discussed above between the dummy email address and the name of a Chinese company identified by the former ICIG analyst and former Inspector General McCullough during a Google search, the ICIG and the DOJ OIG are unaware of any information that links Gambetta or the dummy email address that he created with the Chinese government or a Chinese-owned company. Well, yeah, again, we stated it's above his pay grade. It's out of his area. He could not have done that. That his boss said so, and that they had to turn it over to the FBI. So again, a red herring that means nothing in any of this. To finish, we hope that you find this information useful, and we appreciate your continued support for our offices. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Signed, Michael K. Atkinson, IGIC, and Michael E. Horowitz, IGDOJ. Now, there's one thing we haven't talked about. What if Hillary had someone create that email address specifically to funnel that information to the Chinese? We know that the Clinton Foundation was making hand over fist money, hand over fist, during Secretary Clinton's tenure at the State Department. We know that foreign governments were using pay-to-play procedures and pounding their bank accounts with money in order to get those services. Why wouldn't the Chinese be one of those people? Why wouldn't the Chinese have said, hey, HRC, we will give you millions and millions of dollars if you just let us in on your emails? You know, I'm sure you won't put anything confidential in them. Just give us an idea of where things are going and how we can react to certain maneuvers that you guys might make. So, we don't cross wires. So we can act in a beneficial manner to both of us. How about that, Hillary? We support your foundation, as Iron Slippers just said, and we get some of your emails. We'll show you how to do it. We'll even use a dummy address for one of our companies. That could have happened. Because remember, that was in 2010 when she started at State, and then she was done in 2012, or was it? Yeah, 2012, and then Kerry took over. How is that not conceivable? How is that not even probable? And that's never mentioned in here at all. HRC could not have had anything to do with it. It would have had to have been Gambetta, because he ran her cloud account, not her server, not her physical server, but her cloud account. So it had to have been him. That's ridiculous. That's freaking ridiculous. That's insulting is what that is. And that's the end of that. Now, I know I was talking this up as a Nellie Orr thing last week. I honestly got my signals crossed as to which these documents were versus the Nellie Orr documents that had already come out. I almost reread the Nellie Orr transcript. That's how screwed up I was, until I checked again and realized the dates were the same. So I apologize for almost wasting all of your time as opposed to just part of your time like I usually do. So I am opening up the chat to any questions or theories about what went on here. Uncle Bobbity says, if only Hillary knew to talk to Dianne Feinstein's personal Chinese spy, she wouldn't have needed all this malarkey. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Feinstein had it nailed. She knew what was going on. First of all, she was smart enough to be a Democrat and have her spy work for her, mainly during the time of Obama. So he could leave the country and not be questioned. That makes sense. And Feinstein, of course, did not get any. She didn't even get a reprimand for that. Trump gets a reprimand for saying mean but true things to the squad. And Feinstein gets nothing. So there's your government for you. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so nothing from the chat. So we will close it up here. It is almost exactly 3 o'clock real time, 2 o'clock central. We took a little longer than I expected, but not by much. So we got it in good. And David Von Kettering says, my theory is shenanigans and snakes in the grass. That pretty well sums up the entire Obama administration. So you might have to be a little more specific, but it still fits the profiles of everybody. So now perhaps you could just leave it at that and do fine. Let's see. Is that a reference to heavy metal, Ray? Because if it is, it's one of the best movie references I've seen in the chat in quite some time. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I showed it when I was a projectionist. I still have the double LP album from the movie, and it's definitely one of my favorites of all time. The last sequence, the flying dove pterodactyl, goes on a bit too long. Probably could have shaved about 3 minutes off of that, but it worked. It worked. Still a great movie. Great movie. And the song that kicks in during that bit when Hanover Fist charges the defendant, whose name is suddenly forgotten, that's Cheap Trick, and the song is called "Reach Out and Take It." We saw them play live a few weeks ago. They did not play that song, and I was devastated. Oh yeah, lizard bites. Yes, thank you, David. It's possible, but tonight is also date night for us. So again, Tuesdays are kind of problematic, but maybe I can listen while we're there. The weather's nice enough, I'll be smoking a cigar outside on the sidewalk, so maybe I can do that. Iron Slippers asked how the visit was to Colorado. It was 34 hours of driving in 2 days, with 1 day in between to go to the event, but it was almost completely worth it. The drive got really tedious near the last 3 hours. We were all kind of, stir crazy. There was a little tension in the car, but we're all still friends, so nothing bad happened. It just got a little tight. But the event was incredible. Our friend Mike, who's my other friend's dad, who him and his wife put us up in their apartment for the night. They were incredible, wonderful people. They treated us like royalty, and they really appreciated our gifts that we brought them. I met some wonderful people at the event itself, including a new cigar company for me. They've been around for a while, but I had not had their cigars before, and I fell in love. And luckily enough, where I was sitting in the shade under a tree was about across a sidewalk and 3 booths down from where I was sitting. So I was able to hang out with them for a while. I got a great picture, too. It was really, really good guys. You could, David, you can eat dates and watch. Panda eats shoots and leaves, right? Right? Very good. Very good. But no, it was terrific. Now, the elevation got to me. Unfortunately, our friend lives on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex. Very nice apartment, but still, 3rd floor. And it took me 3 tries to get up the stairs the first time. I had to stop 3 times. Second time, it took me 2 tries. And the third time, I had acclimated much enough that I was able to get up in 1 shot, but I could not speak when I got to the top of the landing because I was so much out of breath. It took me about 2 minutes to recover in the apartment each time, 2 to 3 minutes. And the second day we were there, both one of my friends and I, because we've never been out at that altitude before, we were at 6,000 feet during the event. We had that flatlander headache that goes on when you're anoxic, or at least hypoxic. Yeah, Sherpa shortage, absolutely. Someone needed to carry me up those damn steps, or at least strap an oxygen bottle on my back. That would have been nice. I think they should have that for the 3rd floor new recipients from lower elevations. An oxygen tank strap would be nice. But I would do it again, although next year I really want to think about flying out there, because that drive, again, was brutal. It's a very pretty country, through Ohio especially. I-80 through Ohio is just gorgeous. There's a lot of rolling hills. The farmland is beautiful. The corn was coming in nicely. And Nebraska I-80 going through there. It was okay. It was okay. The Platte River follows the road, or the road, I should say, follows the Platte River riverbed for quite a ways. So that was pretty cool. Thinking about how the settlers who could afford it would have their wagons put on a raft, I should say, at a ford in eastern Nebraska, and then float down the Platte to western Nebraska. That was a pretty cool to be in that area and think about that. But the one thing is, cigars taste different at higher altitudes. They do not have the same kind of full spectrum of flavor that you would have at lower altitudes. Because of the lack of oxygen, you don't get as high a temperature burn as you normally would, so it doesn't release all the flavors that it normally would. Did I say Ohio? I meant to say Iowa. If I said Ohio, I really apologize. That was silly. Yeah, I mean, the names are similar, but I know, hell, we stopped for gas in Iowa City on the way back. So it's kind of hard to not know where I was at. But thank you for the correction. But yeah, Iowa was beautiful. North Central Iowa was beautiful. South Central is boring. But that's basically it, folks. So unless you have any more questions, I will let it go for the day. I don't know what the next subject will be. I don't have anything lined up right now. If y'all have suggestions, go ahead and put them in the comment section of this video after it posts. Of course, I'm always happy to take suggestions. Just don't ask me to sing. It's bad enough as it is without me putting you guys through that. Yes, Ohio is a dump. We absolutely, David. As I understand it, Ohio has more urban centers than any other state in the country. Look that up. Might still be true. But I will let you all know, of course, with as much notice as possible when I do get something else in the queue. And we will have more fun. So again, Ray, if you're still here, thank you so much for what you did. It was, again, very, very nice of you, and I hope to reciprocate in some small but meaningful way as soon as I can. So until then, folks, be well. God bless. Happy trails. See you soon. Bye-bye.
I hope I learned something. I hope I learned something. I hope I learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny days. From the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny we learn something from the stormy sea, from the brightest day, from the darkest night, from the sunny